this kind of united kind of front they've got now, the Celtic fan collective. They've kind of a bunch of groups that got together to form the kind of People's Front of Judea, or what is it? So they basically invited him into the tent for tea and biscuits and a chat. By all accounts, it hasn't gone particularly well. The fan collective put out a statement this afternoon, basically saying that it's only kind of increased their kind of animosity towards the board and their demands for change, accusing that the board have been lacking humility, awareness, and accountability. So clearly, it hasn't gone particularly well. I think a lot of questions were raised, and I don't think the answers that were given were particularly welcomed or accepted. In terms
who did he meet with, Mick? It was Michael Nicholson.
Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay. So Chief Executive Michael Nicholson and the Finance Officer Chris Mackay, who were there. I say the questions that were asked, I don't think they get the answers they're looking for about recruitment in the summer, the kind of model, the financial, the kind of transfer model in recent years, the kind of slowing down the process. I mean, that statement, obviously, it was released a few weeks ago now, the infamous kind of 9 o'clock, the wine o'clock statement on the Saturday night. But doing like a lead balloon, blaming kind of like financial fair play and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
So that wasn't particularly addressed particularly well by all accounts. The kind of the story, the credible story about the kind of briefing behind Brendan Rodgers' back has been kind of swept under the carpet by all accounts. They were asked about that. It seems to be that they said that they had a board meeting and nobody admitted to doing it. So therefore that was it finished. It was then case closed. Let's all move on. Which seems kind of, I mean, an open and shut case by all accounts. That didn't seem to appease anyone. So yeah, I think it's been not particularly great. Celtic have since come out with their own statement. I think obviously there's a big gather bit of momentum online. The statement from the fans collective. Listen, the statement they put out actually reads more like a statement they should put out rather than what I'm talking about, the 9 o'clock statement. And there's a line in it that says, "We acknowledge that the club is not where we want it to be at the moment, that we have not achieved all our objectives in the summer transfer window and the Champions League, and that mistakes have been made from which we will learn." That would have been the line to use 3 weeks ago, to be honest with you. We recognise the concerns raised, share the frustrations of our supporters, and value the opportunity to hear from supporters last night. So they're kind of trying to put a spin on it, saying, okay, we take your points on board, but we made mistakes, we're not happy where we are, we're going to try and learn from it. Quite how that works after the event, I'm not entirely sure, because it sounds like the fans have not been sold this message or even given it last night. So maybe the stable doors are getting bolted after the horses over the hills. So I can't see peace breaking out anytime soon.
Well, it's the flip of that, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing.
The fans have walked away from that. Celtic have taken what was already a really bad, toxic situation, and they've managed somehow to make it worse.
Yeah, listen. What the fans want. I'll get into this meeting. I don't know if it was achievable. They're wanting heads on plates. They're wanting Peter Lawwell to leave. They want Michael Nicholson out the door, and Chris.
It's never going to work.
So that's never going to happen. I mean, and you got to take a step back and say this is a club that's got a lot of money in the bank, had a lot of success in the pitch. I think the European thing is a big issue, which is, I think, they're right to be angry about the way they've performed in Europe over the years. But last year was half decent, so they can point to recency of a decent campaign. Albeit this year was a disaster.
I think that just makes them worse, doesn't it? Because the Celtic board didn't function properly during the transfer window, the squad went into the European qualifiers undercooked, nowhere near strong enough. They've lost out in a Champions League campaign, and they're now toiling in the Europa League.
Yeah.
So what was achieved last season, that merely makes it worse and increases the level of anger.
Exactly, and I don't think there was anything that could be said at this meeting last night that's going to repair that damage, because it's already done. I mean, and listen, still going to live with this damage until January, because it's perfectly clear that there's gaping holes in the squad, an imbalanced squad. So the sins of the summer are going to be paid for months to come. So, and every time there's a bad result, it's going to flare up again. Mm-hmm. This meeting hasn't helped appease the fans at all. I mean, I said that the statement today kind of should have been said last night, maybe. Doesn't sound as though that's been the case. It seems to be they're kind of sticking to their guns and defending their kind of their actions. I don't see where this goes, apart from animosity rolling on for months and months and months. they're now. The fans groups are now going away to think about what their next move is in terms of protests. I don't think we'll see silent protests. I don't think that one worked. The Hibs one last week was a bit of a kind of a damp squib, really. Albeit the planned one for the half hour against Braga was shelved. That might have been interesting. But I think that we're already seeing the damage done by the kind of recent windows and the kind of the inertia in terms of the transfer of the window. It's empty seats. You're looking at Celtic Park on Saturday against Motherwell. There's empty seats around the place. I mean, that's not something we're getting used to seeing in the last kind of 10 years at Celtic Park, 15 years. Against Braga last week, albeit it's an early kickoff, empty seats, up to maybe 10,000 empty seats. There's probably 5,000 never bothered to turn up against Motherwell on Saturday. Maybe less, maybe a slightly less, but either way, it wasn't a full house. So you're actually seeing every seat that's empty is a kind of protest in a way. Do you know what I mean? That's a kind of a vote of no confidence because the team isn't performing. The board's malfunctioned over the summer. And listen, you can go back to last summer and in January. It's happened over a period of windows now. So I think there is going to be very visible and very vocal protests, I think, coming up. And I think it's going to be even magnified because I think there is going to be bumps in the road for Celtic, especially in Europe. I think this team doesn't look equipped for the Europa League, as Keith, you were saying. Mm-hmm. So every time that's going to happen, this is going to flare up. So this meeting there's nowhere near peace breaking out, that's for sure.
Well, mate, I said on the show last week, I think it was, in the newspaper business, there's an old kind of secret of the trade, which is never start a campaign that you're not sure that you're going to win. Right? Yeah. And I think this is one with this Celtic protest that they were never going to get the success that they wanted. What they deemed success was the head of Peter Lawwell, the head of Michael Nicholson, and whoever else. That wasn't ever going to be achievable, especially at a time, and I'm afraid what Celtic have done here by saying that there's going to be no action about whoever it was that was briefing against Brendan Rodgers. So the manager, a guy that's won piled up silverware into the trophy room at Celtic Park, he's not got the power to fight the battle and win it because he called for whoever that was to either resign or be escorted off the premises. If Brendan Rodgers, as the most, as one of the most successful Celtic managers of the modern era, if he doesn't have the authority to win that battle, the Celtic fans were never going to win it. But now they've locked themselves into having this fight. And where does it go from here? Because I think you're right. I think it's not going to be silent protests. So what goes on now? How does this affect Celtic's season? I just think it's a pretty horrible state of affairs.
It is. It's a real kind of mess, really. I mean, it's well, you also got Brendan Rodgers' his contract is running out, so his future is up in the air. And he, I mean, and very kind of shrewdly, he actually said, if this club meets my ambition, then I want to stay. I mean, he actually said he doesn't want to leave. If the big if, which is a bit of a kind of cute way, because he knows that how do you quantify that ambition? Do you know what I mean? So a kind of cute way of handling it. But he's basically said, I'll stick around if the club's going to be forward thinking and looking to kind of ramp things up and have a right good go at Europe, then I'll stick around. But that's not been the case in the last wee while.
And the subtext to that is, Mick, if he decides, which is looking more and more likely he will, that this is his last season, then that's his part and shot going out the door. I would have stayed. They weren't ambitious enough. You've got people in charge of your club that have got no ambition.